Before Milwaukee's 18-game, 7th longest win streak in history came to an end last night, in the midst of that, they'd won their last 9 games by a combined 191 points. While that's in large part to Giannis's all-time best player efficiency rating, the Greek Freak supporting cast is an underrated contributor to the Bucks' 24-4 steamrolling of the league. Not only will you see the keys to Milwaukee's conference takeover, but by using numbers, let's find out if there's any extent to this dominance and how good the Bucks can be. Hattie adds to his lead on the Speaks board, saying Jimmy Butler's leadership, Adebayo's all-around game, and the Heat's unafraid youngins in Tyler Herro, Kendrick Nunn, and Duncan Robinson give Miami the most unbelievable start this season. A creative and off-the-board but great take nonetheless. These Community Speaks awards were announced last video. Go follow me on Instagram at @dflowhoops_ for upcoming info on them, along with channel and NBA updates you won't want to miss. 2 wins was all the Bucks needed after going up 2-0 in the 2019 East Finals. This season, nearly the exact same rosters locked in on finishing that title run. The net rating gap between the leading Bucks and the second-ranked LA Lakers is a bigger gap than the Lakers and the 5th-ranked Clippers. In other words, their efficiency on both ends over 100 possessions is significantly ahead of the pack. Milwaukee's schedule hasn't been the hardest, but when tasked with a challenge, they've been dominant against even the toughest of competition. Aside from a stunning home loss to the Mavs without Doncic last night, the Bucks still have the second-best record against plus 500 teams in the conference at a solid 6-4. I know they've had an easy schedule, but those 6 plus 500 wins include 2 big-time showings over the West's second-seeded Clippers, the most recent one being a 28-point runaway statement. An incredible 9 Buck players had at least 6 points against a familiar face in Kawhi Leonard. It's a great sign that not only your superstars hurting from last spring, but evidently the roster from top to bottom feels the same way. Sure, it was a regular season win, but against the man who just eliminated you, that type of blowout could slay some serious demons for this Bucks team. This game also signified how much Milwaukee's beating teams by, and the amount of points specifically is making them record setters. In the 1971-72 season, the Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Gail Goodrich, and Wilt Chamberlain combo led the Lakers to set the largest average point differential in league history at plus 12.5 points. One season earlier, Oscar and Kareem's Bucks finished with around a plus 12.4 average differential. 24 years later, Michael Jordan's 95-96 Bulls came up short of snapping that, posting a plus 12.2 mark. Those 3 teams all went on to win NBA championships, and with a quarter plus of the 2019-20 season down, Milwaukee's playing at a pace that's plus 0.5 points above the league record. Giannis Antetokounmpo's mesmerizingly even more beastly MVP season is the driving factor of that point differential, recently dropping his 14th 30-point 10-rebound game in Memphis. The Greek Freak admitted he had this game marked on the calendar. This past summer in FIBA, Caboclo blocked Giannis at the rim to eliminate Greece, and apparently Caboclo stared down Giannis after the play. Last Friday night, within a lethal 28-12 run, in response, Giannis dunked on Bruno, got a tech for saying, "on your head," and considering that measly display of revenge, other East contenders should be extremely worried about playoff Giannis, especially now that he's undoubtedly the top player in the Eastern Conference. A new and improved, reliable 3-point trigger, making the defense have to pick and choose what they want to give him, is making taking over seamless. In his past 10 games, Antetokounmpo shot a scary 38% from 3-point range. Just 5 single-season winning streaks were left for the 2019-20 Bucks to surpass for the greatest in history, even though Porzingis shockingly upset them at home, ending their shot at snapping history. A new massive streak has a chance to easily start back up because after the Bucks play the surging 24-3 Lakers, then the Knicks, a still talented yet still being Oladipo-less 18-9 Pacers, and then a legitimate East contender in the 20-8 Sixers. Let's assume this deep Bucks squad gets past those teams, another 4-game streak's begun, then Milwaukee's next 10 opponents all have losing records, so in a split, that seeming to be surefire, season-high 18-game Buck win streak is on the verge of being broken. Regardless, for championship-caliber teams, it's a healthy development to instantly build up another streak after a long one snapped. Don't be surprised if the Bucks get past the Lakers, Pacers, and Sixers and make that exactly the case. The floor spacers surrounding the MVP have put up noteworthy efficiency from 3-point range, specifically the 13-year grizzled veteran point guard George Hill, who's first in the NBA in 3-point percentage. leading the second-place Rodney Hood by over 4%. That's as big of a difference in percentage between the second-place Rodney Hood to the number 10-ranked Paul Millsap. The veterans carried his postseason success into the early part of this year. It's not just Hill. The all-star Chris Middleton and free agent sniping pickup Wes Matthews both have their percentages at 40+ from deep, but a staggering 9 Buck rotation players are shooting around 40+% on wide open threes. Conversely, Giannis going to work makes Milwaukee the number 1 team at scoring in the paint, when almost everyone around a generational slashing artist has made a living off spreading out defenses. The only thing opponents can do when Milwaukee's on their schedule is pick their poison. Do you rotate over to the abundance of efficient Buck snipers, letting the Greek freak go to work, or put another body on the most efficient player in history, which often isn't even enough? Also, Giannis's now 7th season and learning experiences from recent playoff heartbreak are boding very well for his passing IQ, just over 5 assists per night, 0.6 below Giannis's 18-19 career high, is still noteworthy because he's giving you +4 more points per game than he's ever scored in the fewest minutes he's averaged since his rookie year. Without Eric Bledsoe for the next 2 weeks, the man who sets the pace with speed-changing versatility, the next guard in the depth chart is going to have to step up big time. Eric's the assist and turnover ratio leader for the Bucks, then ranking amongst the most elite of playmakers in amount of points, assists created, which combines total points, assists, and passes that turn into teammate free throws. Bledsoe sits at number 15 in the league. That's 5 points ahead of his MVP teammate, so EB's made this offense click, and we've already seen the impact of his injury with the Mavs beating them at home without their best player Doncic. It's a potentially fatal loss for Milwaukee's recent hot streak. Despite Bledsoe's right leg fracture keeping him out 2 weeks, the aforementioned George Hill maintains his bench role, leaving the starting spot to Villanova legend Donte DiVincenzo. With Chris and Eric's injuries, Donte started 12 games total, but playing him 30+ minutes in what's really his first experience dealing with the pro grind isn't ideal. They need George Hill's quarterbacking off the bench, so this is really Budenholzer's only option, but luckily the 22-year-old's quickness gives him the team lead in steals, and his fundamentally sound release with pull-up ability makes DiVincenzo already a better shooter than Bledsoe, posting a 35% mark from distance, but Bledsoe's all-around impact is without a doubt going to be missed. But 5 percentage points higher from deep, having made a very solid 20 of his 53 pointers so far, is the reliable Sterling Brown. In 16.9 minutes, the 6'5 shooting guard Sterling Brown's also giving Milwaukee a fast 4.5 rebounds per game. On wide-open threes next to George Hill and Chris Middleton, consistent Sterling's one of 3 Buck rotation players shooting at least 60% from the field, second in league-wide percentage on 3-point attempts with at least 6 feet of space is Giannis's Robin Chris Middleton. The 2019 All-Stars bouncing back from an underwhelming conference finals appearance, with both his field goal and 3-point percentages making him seem like a different player from 2018-19. Cash money, as they call him, is resting up for the postseason, as with the Bucks beating up on teams, his minutes, like Giannis, are the lowest since his first campaign. So to properly evaluate Cash, we go to the per 36-minute stats, where his points, rebounds, field goal, 3-point, and free throw percentages are all highly improved. Before predicting how good the Bucks can be into the 2020 postseason and if they can keep their winning ways trending, you gotta hear these extremely telling and dominant Bucks stats. Starting in advanced defensive statistics, look no further than Antetokounmpo to see why the Bucks as a team have the league's best defensive rating. The distance in rating between the number 2 ranked in defensive rating Anthony Davis and number 10 ranked Kawhi Leonard is the same as AD's gap with the number 1 ranked Giannis.
Whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean?
Well, that 96.1 defensive rating would put Giannis right behind Ben Wallace, David Robinson, and Tim Duncan for the 6th lowest rating of all time, meaning it's time we seriously start giving the Greek freak his long overdue reputation of an all-time valuable defender. He's been the captain on the back end in the passing lanes vocally, and the focal point that makes Milwaukee average margin of victory at a staggering 16.1 points per game in their winning streak, and overall on the year, the Bucks are +4 ahead of the Lakers to lead the NBA's average scoring margin. The Bucks are the 5th team in NBA history to outscore their opponents by more than 320 points through the season's first 24 games. 2 of the previous 4 teams to last accomplish this feat, the 1969-70 Knicks and the 2007-8 Celtics, went on to win NBA championships. They're also plus 2 points ahead of the second-place Suns in open threes created, as the devastating drive-and-kick Budenholzer offense is getting 23 wide-open long-range attempts. Those are looks from players who have 6 feet of space or more, just to be clear. The Bucks are the only team in the league to be top 3 in both offensive and defensive efficiency, and lastly, they lead the second-place Toronto Raptors by 2% in the lowest opponent field goal percentage from 5 feet or less. Again, I'd give Giannis's wingspan and IQ 90% of the credit for the Bucks' opponents making only half of their attempts in the paint. Fittingly, that defense leads us into Milwaukee's 2020 potential. Effort and persistence are often talked about in what's needed to be successful defensively. While that's true, that means nothing if your physical dimensions and awareness come up short. On top of the Bucks' lengthy and strong defense, making them most intimidating on this end is their experience as a group, smooth rotations, and ability to play on a string. Milwaukee goes as far as Giannis takes them, but their defense is what's making them the obvious pick to come out of the Eastern Conference. It's the reason for their historically high point differential, their significant net rating lead, and even Giannis' all-time great player efficiency rating. Since Giannis and the rest of the starters are familiar with Dante, being that he started 12 games already, I think they get easily adjusted to playing with him as their point guard, and the Greek Freak goes on a scoring and passing tear to make up for what Eric Bledsoe does. So I'll predict another streak begins. Don't miss a single breakdown, story, prediction, or list by hitting subscribe. Splash thumbs up if you enjoyed, and answer the shoutout question for points and rewards. This was D-Flow. Have a great one. I'll see you next video.